01 es un software que conecta el problema del Estado, la norma, no lo que le importa a los funcionarios, la norma, ¿qué dice la ley para habilitar un comercio? Para que cualquier ciudadano pueda interactuar y las redes como usted de blockchain y descentralizadas puedan verificar esa información en tiempo real. Entonces, vamos a empezar a cambiar paradigmas. Hoy, para estacionar en cualquier ciudad tienen una sola aplicación. Ahora vamos a tener X aplicaciones, porque la ciudad va a abrir y va a decir, para estacionar vale tanta plata, y en tales lugares. Cualquier aplicación se puede conectar. Cualquier aplicación se puede conectar para abrir un comercio, para hacer un reclamo, etc. Estamos trabajando con varias ciudades de laboratorios, hay un cambio de era, llegan intendentes muy jóvenes que básicamente no tienen nada que hacer, dicen, todo papel, dicen, no sé qué hacer, y acá lo que estamos haciendo es construyendo estas soluciones. Yanni nos va a contar un poquito de esto, de qué problema traemos hoy.
Bien, gracias a todos. En este caso, hoy en día lo que necesitamos es lograr un sistema de verificación o validación descentralizado. Hoy en día tenemos muchos problemas, tenemos muchas soluciones, pero necesitamos elevar esas soluciones a un segundo nivel. Blockchain nos permite justamente esto, tener la trazabilidad, seguridad y obviamente la descentralización. Nosotros con 01 recibimos miles de datos. Documentos, videos, fotos, modelos, ¿de dónde? De trámites, de publicidad, de diferentes cosas que van generándose a través de las soluciones. Lo que necesitamos nosotros es realizar un sistema de validación que nos permita verificar si esa documentación es correcta o no es correcta. Este sistema de validación va a partir...
Hola, hola, hola. Hola, hola. Hola. Hey, silence. Hey, Aya. How are you? Thank you, Aya, for joining us once again to Ethereum Argentina. How are you?
I'm good. It's always my pleasure to join this. I see some familiar faces in the venue there. So I'm feeling jealous that I'm not there. I wish I was there. But thanks for having me again.
Recording in progress.
Sorry. We are setting the call yet. Okay, Aya, thank you again for joining us. And I will start with the questions to... Okay, the first question is about Devcon. It has been almost 2 years since the previous Devcon was held in Latin America. How do you think the event impact in our region?
Inspiring is that you guys also figured how to work together. Not only you yourself and these key people have been working to help other communities in Latin America, and that's very inspiring. That I don't see that often in other parts of the world. And of course, a lot of educational efforts and real things are being built. And on top of it, even on the infrastructure layer, that now consensus client has been built from the region, and everything that I hear and I see is really has exceeded my expectations and very exciting.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, Devcon is being held in the South Asia region. This year, South Asia is another emerging market. How do you hope it will influence the local ecosystem there?
Yeah, so when I think about this next Devcon coming this year, I thought a lot about how we can help the similar impact happen in how we can help that happen, like what happened in Latin America. So basically, it's a regional impact that we are expecting, and you guys actually inspired us. And instead of calling Devcon Bangkok, we just started calling this as Devcon Southeast Asia, for this to be a regional, like all different communities in the Southeast Asia, and hopefully also Asian can take the ownership and bring the energies and the vibes that how in the same way you guys did. So that was always in my mind, and so that's why we started to call it Devcon Southeast Asia. there are different things such as the language is not the same like Latin America, but we are seeing some great activities happening in the region, and I think this is going to be, I hope this is going to create similar level of impact, and also local communities there can feel this is their Devcon, so not us.
Okay, thank you. The third question is, in one of your recent tweets, you mentioned that the Ethereum Foundation is very interested in identify projects that are solving real-world problems and impacting communities. Devcon also has a solid call to attract speakers to the real-world Ethereum track. Is Ethereum moving out of the crypto niche? How do you see this after 6 years as the executive director of the Ethereum Foundation? What is your vision?
Yeah. So the reason why I made that tweet was we actually did a similar survey 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. Like, what are the use cases out there that are solving real-world issues? And back then, the technology, Ethereum was, like those use cases that were out there were not many. And also solutions were there more for a philosophical reason, or not just philosophical, but values reasons to build on Ethereum. But now the infrastructure of Ethereum is a lot more ready, and there's a scalability, the cost is cheaper, and there are other solutions that are more advanced, such as privacy solutions. So that technical advancements are making it a lot more possible to build real solutions. And that was the reason why I asked that question. And and then we also hear from many different places that are a lot of times that the Ethereum Foundation doesn't even know something amazing is being built on Ethereum, which is also, a great thing because no one owns Ethereum. You are free to, it's permissionless to build solutions on Ethereum. And that's why, maybe there are ways for us or for others in the community to learn from other examples. And hopefully, those solutions are open to stay open source and then can learn from each other.
Okay, thank you. This is the last question. Talking about use cases and readiness of infrastructure, what are some of the most exciting use cases and projects being built on Ethereum today? Speaking of real-world use cases, which the definition can be up to anyone, but to me, some of the most exciting cases are the solutions that are built for the public interest, and whether that's built by public sector or private sectors. And so things like decentralized ID, voting and registry, supply chain, and those solutions that can help the life of, your life and our life, daily life. And then one of the great examples that in Argentina, Buenos Aires especially, is that like we hear Croc ID is a rare case that's actually being built on ZK rollup, having privacy functions, and also the security of Ethereum. And that's
that's, like it's proving that it's actually possible, which wasn't really possible a few years ago. So that is very, very exciting to see. And then when I heard that, I was like, yes, you guys, again, are ahead of the rest of the world, inspiring the world. And yeah, it is really amazing what your community is doing.
Okay, thank you, Aya. And well, this is the end. What is the message you would like to leave to the audience today?
Yeah, well, not really a message, but I really, I hear a hackathon is happening from now, and like I know the builders out there are waiting to start building, and whether you are newer or like older in the ecosystem, I hope like you dream big, start with what type of the world you want to see. In the end, whether you're going to build something for the infrastructure or application, and please keep inspiring us and also surprising us as you have been, and looking forward to hearing more from the region, Argentina and Latin America.
Thank you, Aya. Fuerte aplauso para Aya. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
See you.
Aló, aló. Hello. Hello, hello, buena. Vamos a
Hello,
comenzar.
hello.
Oh. Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get started here. I'm just getting the room to get a little bit quiet. I'm going to just
Perfect.
let everyone know what's happening. Muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Mi nombre es Christopher, yo trabajo para Scroll, parte del equipo del ecosistema. Muchas gracias por todo venir aquí para ver mi charla con Vitalik. Vitalik, how are you doing?
Muy bien, gracias.
Awesome. Round of applause. Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely, very happy to be with the Argentinian community again, at least virtually. I've definitely been, hearing a lot of amazing things that are happening. I mean, I know, about the kind of there's a little spin-off, kind of group that's happening there this month. So really looking forward to next time I can come in person too.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. A lot is happening in Argentina. The hackathon is this weekend, but over the next couple of weeks, there will also be a pop-up city called Crecimiento. But this is probably a good area to segue, which is, you've traveled all over the world, but I've heard you actually like to come to Argentina a lot. And I'm just wondering, what continues to bring you to this country? What is it that you like most about it?
And I think the first time I came, I was really impressed by the community here. And I mean, both the developer community and just the way that people in general were engaged, and actually looking at blockchains and crypto as not even not just a way to trade monkeys, but actually solve really important concrete problems. And I saw lots of very high quality dev projects, and I know there's people from Pope that are there. There's people from MakerDAO that are there. There's people from all kinds of different projects have at least a few people in Argentina, and some completely in Argentina. So I've just always been really impressed
Awesome.
by that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think no one can deny the amount of talent that Argentina has. I think we've seen a lot of great projects. You've named a few. They're like Open Zeppelin, Hard Hat, POAP have been coming from this region, and a lot of that is critical infrastructure for Ethereum itself. But that being said, there's still a lot of problems to be solved, a lot of issues. Ethereum is meant to help resolve a lot of issues around the globe. What are some problems specifically in the region or in Argentina specifically where you think blockchain can have an important impact?
I mean, I think in Argentina in particular, right? To some extent everywhere, right? But in Argentina even more. Sometimes the most important problems are the very simple ones, and the ones that maybe the more intellectual part of the community abandoned 5 or 10 years ago because they're kind of too boring and obvious, and we needed to move on to the next thing, right? So even just being able to save money in a form that's stable, and being able to transfer money internationally of just like having a working basic financial system is like I think like by itself a really huge amount of value, right? And that's a huge amount of value that people are using, Ethereum, Bitcoin, other blockchain systems here from very large numbers for several years now. So I think really starting and really perfecting like that base is a super important thing. And then in addition to that, at the same time, we can start, like thinking about other applications that have to do with like connecting people to the global financial system. And I think, like things around identity and credentials, I think are eventually going to be a part of that. More advanced financial tools are going to be a part of that. But I think, just making the basics work really well is also something that's just very underrated.
Yeah, awesome. And that's a great point, right? Like, I think for people like us that, grow up in like United States, North America, Europe, we take for granted the stable systems that we have in place, even though they're not perfect. And so Ethereum really just solves even some of like the basic necessities for a lot of people in these regions. But yeah, I think, to segue to another topic, depending on who you ask, Ethereum is either 10 years old or 9 years old. But I think you ended up tweeting that, it's 9 years for Ethereum. So congratulations on that. A round of applause for everyone in this ecosystem who's been building. I think that's a great achievement. So after, 9 years of doing this, what keeps you motivated and keeps you going after all this time?
I think the thing that I've really observed, especially over the last year, and actually maybe even just over the last half year, is that it feels like the space is like really finally turning a corner in terms of being in a position where it actually can start to do all of the things that we have been talking about and caring about the whole time. Like, I remember when I visited Buenos Aires back in 2021, right? And like I made a point of using Ethereum wherever I could. And like I made a point of like being a purist and like actually using Ethereum, right? So, the thing that most people would do is just have a Binance account and like take advantage of like the fact that Binance to Binance transfers are free and instant. And I would just make a point of like, no, I'm gonna use Ethereum and like at one point like actually used an L2 Arbitrum. That was I think my first time using an L2 for a sort of pragmatic purpose that's not just like testing things for fun. And the experience I remember I had then was basically, I made the payment and then the transaction fee was like some, like several dollars. At one point, I remember like the cost of the like coffee and dessert that I got was like $14, and the transaction fee was something like $7. And it took like 5 or 10 minutes for the transaction to confirm, right? This was back in the days when EIP 1559 had already come out, but most wallets had not yet upgraded to it, right? And so no, still the long confirmations, right? But that was then, right? If you look at the kinds of things that are available now, right? So like first of all, transactions confirm almost instantly. And then as of March, we have EIP 4844, we have blobs, and transaction fees on layer 2s have dropped from about $0.50 to under 1 cent. Some of these layer 2s offer pre-confirmations. They can confirm in under 1 second. So all of these, pretty massive changes. And so if you actually, redid the in-person payments experiments that I tried to do back in 2021, and you redid them with technology that's available like today, like not the promises of today, the actual like runnable technology of today, the experience basically would be comparable quality to centralized systems, right? And so I think like that's been a big leap, and I feel like a lot of people, I think even especially people outside of crypto, are really underpricing the consequences of that leap, right? I think a lot of people are still stuck in the mindset that like, oh, crypto is basically, either decentralized idealistic stuff that just doesn't actually technologically work, or it's just window dressing for centralized stuff that works totally fine until eventually you realize that Sam isn't such a nice guy and he just decides to steal all of your money. So it's that's not the case anymore, right? And a lot of that is even visible in applications, right? If you look at things like Farcaster, if you look at things like Polymarket, if you look at things like Dymo, like they all feel like Web2 quality applications, right? And from a UX perspective, but at the same time, they are Web3 applications in terms of what they're doing. And so that I actually see, finally, what a much more successful crypto future might actually concretely look like. Like, it's not just words on a white paper, but here's very concrete ideas where if all of them were implemented, I would be really amazed. So I think that's very exciting. I think for a lot of people who kind of lost their energy back in the maybe 2022 season when it felt like centralized exchanges and the $3 million monkeys were all we had. I think could really really need to take a look at the space again and actually see where it is now. And I think the opportunity for progress from here is huge.
Yeah, awesome. It's great to reflect back and see where Ethereum was, back then into where it is now. I think we're at the cusp of seeing, great applications being built with great UX. And I think one of the more important things for Ethereum along the road has been the philosophy of subtraction and just being inclusive and open to, anyone to build on this open source project from day one. And I think, you all have done a great job along with the Ethereum Foundation. But I guess, over the 9 years, is there something looking back that you would probably want to do differently?
I feel like there's a lot of things that I would do differently, especially on the Ethereum development side, right? Because I think, it definitely has been the technology a lot of the time that's been holding the space back. And now I think it's getting to the point where it's not, but we really wish it could have been at this point about 3 years from now, right? So I think, at the layer one, for example, I think we could have done a better job of, distinguishing the really short-term urgent essentials from things that are theoretically nice, but that could wait a bit, right? If the proof of stake design had been at least somewhat simpler and we had given up on at least some of the goals, we probably could have gotten proof of stake out in 2019 instead of 2022. We would have actually been in a better position now to upgrade that proof of stake to something better, which is something that we're going to have to do anyway. So I think there's a couple of examples of that, right? Basically, at the core, layer one part of Ethereum, really thinking much more, strategically of what are the short-term problems? What's the order of, the big fires that we can put out to try to put the ecosystem into a good place? So I think that's one of those big pieces. I mean, I think there's a lot of other small things that we could have done, but that's probably the biggest.
Awesome. But yeah, I think another topic, that's definitely top of mind for a lot of the hackers here are the different layer twos. Over the next 48 hours, a lot of them will be building new ideas and projects on Scroll, which is amazing. But, given the layer two centric ecosystem that Ethereum has been focused on, this creates a lot more options for developers to pick from. So what advice do you have for the builder to kind of, decide what are the factors or criteria they should look into when building their app on a layer two?
Yeah, good question. I think the big axes on which layer 2s differ, I think one is scale, right? Like, is the thing capable of supporting, say, like 500 transactions a second or 500,000? Another is speed. Like, is it one of those that confirms extremely quickly, or is it somewhat slower? Then security properties. So is it is it stage 1? Is it stage 2? What does has it passed audits? Like, what does the quality of the code look like? How robust has the operation of the chain been? And then, decentralization obviously plays into a big part of that. Is the data on chain or is the data off chain? I think for different applications, you probably want to be concentrating on a different combination of these. Like, if you're making something financial, then I think you want data on chain, and you want something that's really ahead on the security side of things. If you are making a game, then chances are people are not going to be willing to like pay $1 for a transaction fee. You're going to want hyperscale. You're going to want like fast, instant user experience. If you're making something that's like very like basic infrastructure that you want other applications to be able to plug into, then one way to think about it is to be on the same layer 2 that those applications are. But then if it's something like more Ethereum wide, then you probably want to be on the one that's like the most neutral or the most unopinionated in some sense. So I think, and then you can also just like look at the actual quality of developer experience. What does it feel like to build on the chain? Has the chain been stable? Like, has it been running well? So I think it's a combination of all of those different factors, and like your application really tells you a lot about like basically where you need to be on the security scalability trade-off, and how much you need to care about speed.
Awesome, yeah, and definitely, and I recommend for a lot of the developers here to check out L2Beat for a lot of these things that Vitalik has mentioned. They have a great resource to kind of see what are the trade-offs that you're making as you're picking your layer 2. But recently, you've also written about, L2s are not just meant to scale Ethereum, but they're also a cultural extension of Ethereum itself. So curious to get a little bit more of your thoughts on how do you view them, driving these different subcultures within Ethereum or innovating on the current culture we have.
Yeah, so I think one of the next steps in Ethereum's scaling is its ability to really like reach out to much bigger groups of users and appeal to them where they are in all kinds of different ways. And I think if he wants to do that well, then like the Ethereum like Foundation and the Ethereum Core Research and Development Group is generally not the right entity to do that, right? And and one of the benefits that L2s can provide is that L2s as teams and as projects actually can specialize much more in reaching out to users directly, right? And like in like really focusing on and understanding specific challenges that users have, like even focusing themselves around specific kinds of things that you might be able to use Ethereum for, focusing around like specific like bigger goals of like what they want out of the space, and having different L2s like have different their own different versions of this, I think actually increases Ethereum's diversity and really increases Ethereum's social scalability in a healthy way.
Yeah, it's great, and I think you see that across the different L2s from like Scroll, Optimism, Arbitrum. All of them have their own unique culture, their unique use cases that they want to see, and I think that speaks to how Ethereum has developed over the coming years. And I think when looking at the L2s, while it's great to have many options to pick from, it also presents some problems, especially on the UX side. You know, you have all these different options, but they're not communicating. There's a lot of cross-chain issues. But on Ethereum, you know, one of the things we always talk about are positive-sum games, right? Collaboration amongst ourselves rather than always competing. The Ethereum Foundation recently did a Ziga collab grants round, you know, with Scroll, Aztec, Tyco, Polygon, funding ZK research, funding infrastructure for different zero DK EVMs. And I think, you know, that speaks positives to the way we want to see the ecosystem continue to grow. What are some other areas where you would like to see more collaboration between the different L2s?
So I think the top priority right now for me is cross-chain addresses and cross L2 addresses and cross L2 token transfers, right? So this is something I've talked about a few times. So the two ERCs that particularly are ERC 3770 and ERC 7683. And basically, what 3770 does is basically makes the name of the chain. So you know, like ETH, you know, like L1, Optimism, Scroll, like whatever else, be part of the address itself, right? So you might have like Scroll : 0x blah blah blah. And ERC 7683 is basically a standard for doing cross-chain asset transfers with liquidity providers. So the idea would be like if you want to move coins from, say, Scroll to Polygon, then you would, on the Scroll side, make a transaction that moves coins into a lockbox contract. And the lockbox contract has a logic that would then give those coins to whoever can submit a proof that they actually did do the transfer to you on the Polygon side, right? And so the race would then create an incentive to give you the coins on the Polygon side as quickly as possible, like basically within one slot. I mean, like if both of the chains have pre-confirmations, it'll be even faster than one Ethereum slot, and that would. And this would basically function without needing, you know, like any kind of centralized intermediaries. So 7683 is a standard for how to do that. And then if you add that together with 3770, then like you get this nice little world where, from a UX point of view, like we need to stop thinking of you know, like sending and bridging as being separate operations, right? The way this should work is that in the to field of your wallet, you should be able to just put the address that you want to send to. The address would include the chain, and then if it's on the same chain, it sends the coins, and then if it's on a different chain, it just automatically routes the transfer through one of these protocols. So if we get to that world, then like this big goal that I think we need to strive for, which is basically that moving assets around the Ethereum world should not feel like you're using 34 different blockchains. It should feel like you're using Ethereum. Like, I think we can get a lot further to actually being there.
Thank you for that. And I mean, on the hackathon tracks, we actually have something for Keystore and L1S load specifically that sort of tries to tackle some of these UI UX issues. So hopefully we see a lot of good ideas come from this hackathon, and we see something that we can talk about afterwards. But I guess, you know, this is a hackathon, and I want to make sure we have something specifically for the builders and developers here. What is some advice that you want to give for a lot of the people here that are just beginning their journey on Ethereum and just kicking off?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things that you know, you can do in the space. I think I mean, first you know, there's a lot of opportunities to contribute to the application layer, a lot of opportunities to also contribute to core infrastructure. I think, I mean, one of the things that, you know, like I would love to see happen more is like basically more funnels by which, you know, like more people can actually start, you know, like really actively and like really directly contributing to some of the core infrastructure questions, right? So, you know, like even the L1 roadmap, even, you know, like some of this cross L2 stuff. And I think a big part of that is just, you know, like helping each other, get acquainted with, and like better understand a lot of the core ideas that like are being thought about, could be thought about. The understanding the problem space, so that new ideas could come up. So I think like I would encourage people to like be willing to like actually like poke into some of the big like layer one and layer two like roadmap items, whether it's like light clients related stuff, state tree related stuff, account abstraction, and like actually see if there's something that you can contribute where like ideally it would even be a thing that isn't just an isolated application, but actually can contribute to and become part of a common standard.
Amazing. So we're getting to the last question, and I think this one is a more relaxed one. It's been almost 2 years since you wrote your blog post about the backpack travel guide. I'm wondering, have there been any new updates or improvement you've made since then?
Oh, which blog post are you thinking of there?
Yeah, the backpack travel guide, where you talk about how
the
you...
backpack. Oh, I see. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's an interesting one. I think since then, let's see, where have we? I feel like there have been a lot of these incremental improvements, right? So like the specific battery pack that I use has gotten a lot better. The universal power like adapter has gotten way better. Like this is one, right? It does 140 watts. It's like gotten much easier to live your life as a USB-C maximalist. Then on the health side, so I remember like last year one of the big like criticisms of like people like Brian Johnson, like the longevity gurus, basically that like this guy spends like 16 hours a day of his life and like millions of dollars a year, that and like both of which are like things that he has but almost no one else has, to like really super optimize and like try to live as long as possible. But like what's the version of that actually works for the regular person, right? And I think actually over the last year, I think he took the feedback and like basically like actually did it, right? And like he actually has this like packages where it's you actually can do his life of like a basic version of like the things that he advocates for a cost which is like, it's like not super cheap, but it's also like cheaper than restaurant meals, and where in terms of like time commitment, it's basically only a few minutes a day. So things things on the longevity side have been improving there quite a bit. Another really totally different and fun one. Ultraviolet lamps. This is one that I use. Ultraviolet lamps, I mean, they're basically good for disinfection, right? So this is 222 nanometer. It's a wavelength which kills bacteria and viruses and all the small stuff, but it actually doesn't penetrate deep enough into human or plant or animal cells to cause much damage, right? So it's like UV of a type that's like too far UV to cause the kinds of problems that like sunburn UV gives you. And like this is good for disinfection, right? So you can like disinfect surfaces. You can just like have it in the air, and it reduces your chance that you get airborne diseases by some percent. So this is like also like really nice and super portable. Trying to think what else. I think though I feel like those are the big ones. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. That was super interesting. I think you just gave the organizers some great ideas for swag items for the next hackathon or conference. So hopefully we'll see those around. So these are all the questions I have, but I do want to give you a chance. I don't know if you want to impart some last words on the audience that's here listening. But yeah, I just want to give you a chance before we end the interview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the big theme for Ethereum like this over the last couple of years, right, has been this transition from being mostly about theory to really being about practice, right? And I mean, I think, especially like in the non-mainstream circles that I follow, right? Probably like between the SPF situation and maybe a few months ago was like really peak. Crypto is useless. And I feel like since then, things are actually starting to turn around again. Now that like Polygon in particular, I think, or sorry, Polymarket in particular, which is on Polygon, is I think making a big impact, right? Because there's like even mainstream political intellectuals who are not crypto people at all that are just sharing screenshots of the percentages there. So that's. So I think we really are like starting to enter this period where it's not about theory; it's about like making these bigger real world impacts, and the like that requires a shift in mindset. That requires a shift in thinking, a shift in priorities, and that's been a big part of what I've been trying to promote and push for. Right, so cross layer 2 standardization. Key store wallets, then cross layer 2 addresses, and at some point cross layer 2 like clients, really getting account abstraction right, but then also solving a lot of problems on the closer to the user side. So I think there's a lot of really valuable things to think about and work on, but also I think like we actually are in a place where if you build something and it starts to succeed, like we're not in the place where like if you accidentally succeed faster than you were expecting, you get stuck by like layer 1 and layer 2 scalability limits, right? So at this point, you can just really build and go for it.
Great last words, and I think we can wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining us. Un aplauso para Vitalik, por favor. Thank you so much, and we'll see what the builders build in the next 40 hours. Thanks you again, and we'll talk soon and see you on Twitter.
Amazing. Yep. See you too.
Recording stopped.